Hey guys, welcome back to the Joy of Wrenching. I'm your friendly neighborhood mechanic, and today in the shop we got this 2015 Ford Explorer, and I'm going to show you how to find that annoying bong, bong, bong that you hear when you're turning, especially slightly to the right or slightly to the left. You'll hear like this bong or this quang or this tang or clang or whatever noise up in the front end. And a lot of people think that that's the rack and pinion steering, the tie rod ends. But most of the time, what it is on these Explorers and the Edge, the Ford Edge, is right in here, the upper portion of our strut. And that upper portion of the strut has a bearing on top of it. And the ball bearings inside of there get kind of crusty sometimes, and it'll catch. And whenever it catches and then releases, it makes the spring go twang, 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 and you'll hear that. And it really gets loud inside the car sometimes. And so it'll fool you into thinking you got a really big problem, but in all reality, it's just a problem with that little bearing at the top. There's a couple of different ways to fix that. You can replace just that bearing at the top, which means compressing the spring, which is very dangerous, by the way. Or what we're going to do today, and I'm going to show you how easy it is. We're going to replace the entire strut assembly. Comes with new strut, new spring, new bearings. Get rid of that noise, make it ride like new. So come along and let's get into it. So we're going to go ahead and replace that entire strut assembly. That way we get rid of that annoying sound and it restores the ride to almost like new. Of course, the first step, remove these wheels. I've already taken most of these off, so speed things up just a bit. There we go. All right, so here's our strut assembly. And the strut is pretty easy to get out of here. Not really very much has to come apart in order to get this out of here. It's connected to our knuckle here by these two bolts right there. And then it's connected to the sway bar end link right here. And then there's 4 bolts up on top that hold the top of that strut in place. See those right there. Okay, so the first part in getting this strut out of here, we don't want to damage our ABS sensor wire here. So we'll go ahead and just kind of pull it from its purchase there. And then you'll need to get back behind this little plastic doohickey right here with some kind of a tool. You can use a screwdriver. I've got a trim tool here. And you just want to pry that out. That way you can kind of get this thing out of the way. That way as we remove all of this, nothing's going to pull on it and cause it to get broken. And the next thing we want to do is take this nut off of the upper portion of our sway bar end link, and that's a 21 millimeter. I'm going to use this impact. If you're really lucky, this thing the impact will spin that nut off. You see it's got some nylon on it, but if it won't, then you may have to hold on to this portion of the stud and turn it with a wrench. This portion right here is an 11 millimeter if you have to do that. Let's see if we can get it. Hey, we got lucky. There we go. All right, the next thing that we need to do in order to remove the strut is to take the mounting bolts off of the knuckle here, and these are 24 millimeter. Now, you only have to loosen up the nut. The bolt itself is splined, and so it's going to stay stuck inside of there. So you don't have to necessarily hold the back side. 24 mil. We'll buzz that thing off of there, and I'm going to leave it on just a little bit like that, kind of flush, because remember that bolt is splined, and so it's not going to come out without us tapping on it with a hammer. And I don't want to booger up the threads or anything like that, so we're going to leave those nuts on there. All right, so we've got the nuts loosened, and we could take it off of there if we wanted to, but I'm going to leave it on there because what I'm going to do now is we need that whole bolt to come out. And in order to do that, we're going to tap on this side with a hammer just to release that bolt. And so watch right here, and you'll see as we do that, that bolt will pop out. And you see those splines right there? Those are grabbing inside of that aluminum and not allowing that bolt to turn until you knock it out like this. But there you go. Once you tap it out, get it past those splines, it comes right out. We'll go ahead and get the other one. All right, get that bottom one now. There you go. All right. All right, so we're done down here releasing our strut. We've got our sway bar end link undone, and we got our 2 bolts that hold it to the knuckle undone. So now we're going to go up top, we're going to lower the vehicle, we're going to get on top of the strut and loosen up the nuts that hold it to the body. Everything downstairs is disconnected, and all that we've got left holding this strut in are these 4 bolts or nuts that hold the upper perch of that strut to the strut tower. Each one of these nuts is a 15 millimeter. I'm going to use a really long ratcheting wrench just for some leverage, and we'll go ahead and just make sure that we break these things free. These nuts also have nylon on it. Once it's broke free, it'll spin off pretty easy, but you won't be able to turn it with your hand because that nylon helps to grip it. Get in here, there we go. You'll see your wrench will kind of slide up underneath this plastic right here, allow you to get a little bit longer of a swing in it than 1 or 2 clicks. And once it's loosened up, I'll show you how we can get a socket in there and speed up the process with the electric ratchet. Okay, now that they're broke loose, we can go ahead and get in here, and again, that's a 15 millimeter. So I'm going to see what we can reach with our extended socket here. If we can get to that one, no problem. We get to that one. You could probably remove this if you wanted to get all the way back in here, but there's just enough room to kind of get up and over it, even though it's at a little bit of an angle. And all you got to do is get it up to where it's, you could use your ratcheting wrench or whatever, get it up to where your short socket will come in here and fit on top of it as well. We'll go ahead and take these off. Go. You want to hold on to these. All right, so we've got the front 2 nuts off, and we're going to go ahead and need to loosen up these back ones just enough to where this short socket will go back in there, because the extended socket is not going to fit over that nut and give you enough room for your wrench on top of it. This is not too slow of a process anyway, so you can go the whole way with your ratcheting wrench if you want to, just like that. Get this thing out of there. But I just wanted to show you that once those are loose, we can get that short socket on there, get in here, finish the job off. There we go. And the last one. And I see as I'm loosening this one, you'll see that whole strut tower is, or the whole strut is going down. Don't worry, it's not going to fall out from underneath the vehicle here. Come around and take a look. So as we're undoing that upper portion, this whole assembly here is starting to fall down a little bit, but it can't go anywhere, so it's not necessarily dangerous. But I'll go ahead and remove the rest of this nut. There we go. All right, you saw that drop down there, I'll bet. There we go. Now everything is disconnected. Go ahead and remove all of these pieces, and then once you got all the bolts out, all you gotta do is just take that sucker down, and just like that, she's out of there. So here's our old strut. This is the one that was making all the noise, and if you want to make sure that you got the right problem or you got the right part out, you can take it out of here, hold it, and then just turn this upper portion by hand. And as I do this, I know that's not going to come through, but I'm feeling the catches. I'm feeling it catch. And you can kind of hear a little bit of that clanginess. I don't know if you can hear that through the mic, but we definitely got the right part. So let's compare this to our new part. Make sure that your mounting points for your sway bar end link, your ABS wiring, all of your knuckle points, make sure it's got the same sort of bolt placement, and it does. So everything looks good. Now, the new one comes with new nuts, but these nuts don't have any kind of nylon on them, the way they hold in place is by gripping hold of the body of the car. And I prefer the nylon nuts, so I'm going to go ahead and reuse those and put a little Loctite on here. All right, so let's go in with this new strut. Don't need this sticker. It says under penalty of law, don't remove this from the mattress. And basically you just take it the way that you took it out. You want to tuck it up inside of here like so. And then the main thing is you want to line up those four bolts that are at the top and just make sure that they stick up through the 4 holes. So come up there and you'll see I've got it stuck up through those 4 holes. And now we're going to stick one of these nuts on just to hold it in place. So it doesn't matter which one you do it, just do one of them. There we go. Now that'll hold itself in place. And we want to make sure that we put a little bit of Loctite on all of these studs. That way it never comes back undone until we're ready for it to be undone. And it doesn't take very much Loctite, just a little bit. A little dab will do you. Go ahead and get these old nuts with the nylon started, just like that. There we go. Now I can take off the first one here and put our Loctite on right there. Again, just a little dab will do you. So now that we've got the strut up there in place and it's held up top, we're going to go ahead and put the knuckle back in. So look right here, and you can see you can swing this thing around freely. And you'll just want to stick that right back in there and watch how we want to line up these holes. You can see as you move it up and down, it'll line up. Once you get that bolt lined up, it'll go in there. And now we can get the other one, put it in there. Again, we'll just wiggle it back and forth till it lines up, just like that. There we go. All right, and the only other thing to reconnect is our sway bar end link here. We'll just stick that right back in there like so. And like I said, these parts here that are part of a suspension, we always want to use a little bit of Loctite so it doesn't come back apart. So come look over here. So the bolts that we took out, remember they're spline, so we're going to have to drive those back in. So just get your little hammer and tap on this guy. There we go. Now that that's flush, this bolt will not turn while we tighten up our nut. I'm going to do the same down here. All right, a little bit of Loctite will do us right here on these bolts. And then we'll reattach with our 24mm nuts. And I'll put the torque spec down below, but we're going to suck them up with our impact. Go. All right. Now, let's see if we can't get this last nut back on. This 21mm holding our upper sway bar end link to the strut. And it's just wanting to spin on us. Oh, there it goes. If it tries to spin on you, you can try to wedge it against the side of the bolt hole that it went through, and it might hold it in place. If it just keeps spinning, again, put a 11mm on this hex feature right here, and then turn it with a regular 21mm wrench. All right, so we're done. We've got the knuckle to strut torqued. We've got our sway bar end link to strut torque. The only thing left is we want to reconnect our ABS wiring here and put it in its little holders the way it's supposed to go. That way it's out of harm's way. And then I want to reconnect our nice little tab right there. All right, everything down here is nice and tight. Now we need to go up top and finish by tightening those 4 nuts that hold the top of the strut to the frame of the body. Last part is going to be tightening up these 4 nuts. And again, we reused the ones that had the nylon on it from the original OEM instead of the aftermarket nuts that came with it. And so I'm going to use a 15mm short socket until it slips off. So let me show you what will happen. As we tighten it up, You see how that socket is about to slip off? There you go, because it's not deep enough for that stud to come all the way up in it. Now we can do the same on these others here. There we go. We'll go ahead and swap over to our extended deep socket. We can get to these two. Now the ones in the back can't really fit this in there. There's not really enough room because of this cowling. So I'm going to use that ratcheting wrench to tighten those up. And I'll again put the torque spec for these things down below. Really like these really long extended handle ratcheting wrenches like this. They allow you to get a lot of leverage on things and put some torque on things. I'll put a link down in the description to these. These are not that expensive off of Amazon. Remember, we put a little bit of Loctite on these already. That Loctite will help to hold these from backing off, and then also the nylon that the manufacturer puts inside of this nut will also help to keep it from backing out. She's all fixed up. No more clanging, banging, bonging, spring noises coming from the front end. So that upper perch, the ball bearings inside of that upper strut mount, they just get kind of bad over time on these Ford Edge, Ford Explorers like this. And just like I showed you, it's super easy process to go ahead and remove that thing and to swap in a whole assembly. So much safer than trying to compress that spring and just replace that upper perch. Plus, by the time it's doing this, the car's probably got 100,000, 150,000 miles. Might as well get that new ride feel back with it too. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this was helpful to you. If so, please hit that subscribe button for me so that we can reach a greater audience with our content here. Thank you again for your time. Y'all have a wonderful day, and God bless.